Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve with another exciting episode of What's New in Alliance of the Sacred Sons. This is version 0.9.4. This is, quite frankly, the largest update we've ever put out. There is a lot of new stuff, and so I'm very excited to go through it, so let's get right to it. All right, first of all, for those of you that have been with us for a while, you'll be very excited about this. You can now go to an option screen and you can actually set your resolution straight from here, or of course you can set the screen mode, you can set the quality, VSync, etc. And of course you also have audio options as well, so that's kind of exciting. You can also save and load a game, and you have multiple saves now, which is very exciting. You can name them what you want. And we continue to refine it, but they're very, very exciting. Right now, I can't load anything because I don't have any save games there. So we're going to go ahead and set up a new reign. Oh, and then we also have a credit screen. Yay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and set up a new reign. Now, not much has changed here. Now, this is going to be a militarily focused dive. So I'm going to kind of push the things you need in order to have a successful military. The first thing is you need to have a high military tradition. In fact, 70 is probably the highest you want to go. That will make sure that you have transports, destroyer technology, and frigate technology. The lower you start, the less technology you have. You'll also need a lot of energy to power your ships, so you'll want to go high tech, pretty high. I'd say 60 is a good number. And you notice that doesn't leave you much for anything else. So if you do play a heavy military strategy, you're going to miss out in a lot of other areas. So we'll give just a little bit here. We need to pay for our ships somehow. We probably want to be able to build more, and then just a little bit for research. So as you can see, you don't have a lot of extra points if you're going to go heavy military, because you absolutely have to have a high military and high-tech skill, because without energy, it's basically like fuel. And if you think of the World War II ships, you're dead in the water without it. All right, so we'll just go ahead. I always like this as a nice military symbol. We'll call ourselves our usual Steve Hawkstorm because it sounds cool. And we'll go ahead and select another simple empire, and we'll go ahead and get to it. All right, so very exciting times. We're going to go over, of course, the Revamped Military System. Now, of course, it's not finalized, but it's quite a bit further along, and this will give you a good idea of the entire flow. This includes challenges and just kind of everything that goes with it. All right. So first of all, you see right away a brand new screen. This is called the Situation Report. It pops up every turn. This will be something that gets more use as we go. This is a Situation Report. It lets you know who your allies and enemies are, any crises in the Empire, maybe like rioting, things like that. Your Grand Vizier will pop up. By the way, your Grand Vizier is now a character in the game. It's, he or she is an actual person. They can pop up the character screen, and they'll have their own unique actions. So we'll be doing more with the Grand Vizier in later builds. So you see your top strengths, your top weaknesses, and then your active win conditions. So you can look, and we now have expanded the win condition. You can now see immortality. You have to research these 5 in the Lazarus chain and then complete the Lazarus project. Or become Overlord, which gain overwhelming power, which means your house has to have more power than the other houses combined. And then you'll be able to disband the Celestial Council and then survive for 8 turns. So you can see your progress there. So all right, so we'll go ahead and start the turn. And so first thing you may notice is we now have gone back to a number power. So you can now have characters have a power between 0 and 100. Houses have a power from 0 to 9999. Although anything above 1,000 is really pretty good. That's why you see 44 for power. So we kind of wanted to scale power and make it relevant between characters and houses, since houses are obviously much greater than any individual character. So first thing I want to show you guys is we now have several different submodes. So if you look from the galaxy mode, for example, if we look at the economic command mode, you now see we have lines. You see we have trade lines. This is the province hub. This red line means that nothing's moving. This is not trading with them, but this trade hub is trading, and this means that the gray means that it's not yet connected with the logistical network. So next turn, that should change in color. We also have the demographic view. You can see the migration between your systems. Basically, the thicker the line, the more pops that are moving between the systems, which is kind of neat. In military view, you won't see it yet, but you'll when we send forces, you'll see the force icons and where they're moving. And then in overview mode, you'll be able to see where characters are moving, particularly your Grand Vizier. So we'll kind of show that in a little bit. Now, we have what's called a tactical mode. So far, we have tactical modes for your overview and military. So what that does for overview mode, this actually lets you send out your Grand Vizier to different systems. So let's take a look at furthest light. Now you can see this pops up a situation report for the individual systems. One thing we want to do is we really want you as an emperor to manage more from the province and system level. Planets really only when necessary. Right now, really no issues. ADM generates, you've got a great governor, which is kind of nice. So we'll close that out. Let's look at another system. Okay, now here we go. We have negative revenue. Excellent governor relations. It's an ADM sync, which means there's not much ADM, and then a poor governor. So even though you get along great with the governor, they're really not very good. So what we can do now, your vizier actually, this is the beginning of their functionality. Not only are they there for great advice, but you can actually physically send them to the system to generate varying levels of advice to help the situation. So you can see it would take about 3 turns to send them out. I don't have a detailed sit rep. Let's go ahead and send the Grand Vizier out. It costs 1 AP point. So we'll go ahead and send. So now you can see, a little hard to see from far, but you can see the Grand Vizier is being sent, and we should get an update in about 3 turns. So we'll kind of let him do his business. All right. So let's take a little bit more detail at the house view, because this is where we talk about the military system and how challenges work. So in Alliance of the Sacred Sons, keep in mind that you are all one big happy family in theory. You are part of the Celestial Empire. So you don't have war per se. What you do have are called house challenges. So think of kind of in the Middle Ages where you would have duels of honor. Here in the 31st century, you know, with the Zill and having gone to war and almost been exterminated, humanity realized that they couldn't keep fighting amongst themselves and hope to survive as a species. So specific dueling protocols were initiated called house challenges, whereby great houses can challenge each other for power and eventually for territory. So how that works, and we'll look at just Van Rigel. You can see we've slightly updated the house screen. So one thing you'll notice is we have actually finally updated the relationships between houses. Now houses have their own positive and negative relationships with each other. You can see that this is Van Rigel. They don't like Kierley Finn, and they already have a fairly negative attitude. You keep in mind that you're being dropped in the middle of a kingdom that already has its own history. So these don't necessarily start at 0 like they do with you, because you're new and they're willing to give you a chance. So you can see they're allied with House Hawken, but obviously they're not very happy with you or with Kierley Finn. So what this means is, if we were to initiate a house challenge, now things that affect houses will affect your relationship with them based on their relationship with each other. What I mean by that is, let's say, so House Hawken has a positive relationship with Van Rigel. So let's say, and of course it's reciprocated because, you know, if you, one has one for the other. So let's go ahead and take a look at, let's look at initiating a house challenge with Horlock. Now, let me emphasize something. This is not a good play. Typically in the start of the game, you don't have nearly enough firepower to really attack well. I mean, you can, but it's going to leave you kind of decimated. But I want to show you the process, the entire process of kind of the combat system as it stands now. So we're going to initiate a challenge. So this opens up a house challenge screen. So you can see now there's a pretty significant house imbalance. One of the advantages of being the Emperor is you do typically have the largest standing navy. So you can see there's a pretty good balance of power. Now, you have 103 total potential war score. Now, war score, if you ever played Paradox games, they use this concept. Basically, it's war capacity, or your empire capacity. It includes your resources, your military, your territory, etc. And it basically represents what you can stake to a challenge. So larger empires can stake more, smaller empires can't stake as much. So a bid, what you do is you will set a bid when you wish to challenge a house. So you can increase it in increments of 5. It can't go higher than what they have, so you can't bid more than their entire war score potential, and you can't bid more than your own. So I'm going to keep it extremely low. 10 is really very low. but I just want to again show you the entire flow. And of course, you can decrease the bid. You can't be lower than 5, and you can't do a challenge of 0. So we're going to go ahead and confirm the challenge. It costs 1 AP. All right. So now you see we're already at limited war, and you can see. Remember, I said that bar 1 was their enemy. Now you see they are indifferent to me, but they've already have a negative attitude towards me. So you can see going through all. Now remember, Kirley Finn doesn't like Hawken, so they have a tension relationship, so they're okay with that. They're actually kind of happy with it. And then of course I'm in limited war, but you can see the different houses will have different reactions depending on whether you're doing something that hurts or helps their friends or enemies. So that's something else to consider when you are taking action. So going back to that, now we have a house challenge tab. Now we can take a look at the tab itself. So we see right now it's 0 to 0. There's no particular war score advantage. This shows our power. Got to do a little editing there. And this means that I have 2 holdings versus 1 holding. Now my war score goal is 10. That means whoever gets 10 first of total war score, and the way you get war score is by taking out units, conquering systems, conquering planets, basically taking or destroying the other house's stuff. So the war score goal is 10. So what happens, and since this is a power challenge, you won't actually be keeping what you take over. So even if you take over a planet, you won't actually be keeping it. It basically is a quick way to gain a lot of war score, because planets are worth a heck of a lot more than units or forces, but you wouldn't get to keep it in a power challenge. So your challenge power, this is the amount of power that's up for bid. It's always 3 times your war score goal in a power challenge. So you can see, for me, I mean, having 1,000 powers, I mean, 3% of my, it's not terribly bad if I lose. Now I am working, one thing we're working on a lot is balance. So we want to make sure that this will probably end up coming down a little bit. We probably want to bring the power a little bit closer to everybody else. So, but for Hawken, that's quite a bit of their power. That's about 12% of their total power. So it's a pretty big deal for them. And of course here you can concede the challenge. If you're losing, instead of losing 3 times the war score, you only lose 2 times. However, the fear of the pops drops because you basically conceded, and your popular sort would drop as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and right click out, kind of show you that. Now you'll see also we're going to start having these. These are basically small versions. When there's challenges, you see this will update in the military view. When we have personal challenges fully implemented, you will also see those in the political view. Now speaking of personal challenges, we now have, in a slightly updated Emperor screen, we now have a separate challenge tab. So there's nothing here now because we don't have any challenges. So everything's kind of where it was. But let's go ahead and let's try to goad someone. Let's go ahead and show you what a challenge looks like. So let's go to the Nexus and let's take a look at our worst enemies. So typically they will accept a challenge because they already don't like us. So let's go ahead and, well, we've already pissed off Hawken. Why not? We'll go for their house successor now. Oh my goodness, what is this? It's a brand new character screen. How exciting. Yes, we have completely revamped the character screen. You can see we're going towards kind of a new art style. It looks very, very cool. We now have actions in a tab, relationships, and intel. Now these haven't changed much yet. We're going to kind of be updating this. This is the big one. This is the actions now have a separate tab. So when you click here, you have now, you can see all the actions regardless of whether they're available or not. Similar to the project screen, you can see if you have a missing requirement, you can see why it's not available. It gives you more information about the action. So this was a big part of feedback. People were like, I don't know what anything does. I don't know what actions do. Well, now you can literally hover over it and see exactly. You can see the power risk if you failed, success chance. You can see the character updates. That's not quite implemented yet because we've been kind of tweaking the relationship model. But you'll be able to see that change, and of course the required intel level. So, but what we want to do is we want to do a hostile action. We want to go ahead and challenge the character. So depending on how cowardly they are or brave they are, they may or may not accept. Now their power is only 14. I have a power of 38. So they may not accept because I may be too powerful, but let's go ahead and see anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, 44. So let's go ahead and and this hasn't changed much. We're going to be kind of revamping this screen too. Seems that you have the smell of a turd and the social standing to match. Okay, so he did take the bait. He went ahead and took the challenge. Da-da-da, prepare to be challenged. So grudge, a little bug here. That should be the other way around. Negative 23 trust. Grudge is actually, should not be reduced. Power increase, that is correct. So, all right, so now you see, oh, we have a new action, new challenge made. So whenever you see a challenge pop up, you'll see it come over here. So now when we go to the challenge screen, there we are. So we now currently, because our power is so much higher than theirs, we have a success chance of 78%. Challenges have now been changed for 3 turns, which is 9 months. And then the challenge risk is basically a random blend between the 2 powers combined. It's usually 15 to 30% of the combined power divided by 10. So right now, so 4 is the challenge. So for him, 4 from 13 is quite a bit of his power. 4 from me is not so big a deal. But when you have several people challenging you, or you have more powerful people challenging you, that challenge power might go up to 8 or 10 or 12 or even higher. So it becomes very important. So from there, you will have the option to provocate, intimidate, or concede. You can always concede the challenge. These 2 are actually part of Emperor skills. Those will be skills that you add as you go through the skill tree, so that you have more options to fight challenges. You are now no longer able to recruit characters. Your enemy may do that because you have a kind of a built-in advantage of being able to do these things. So, and also being the Emperor. So they will be able to recruit people, but that's, again, they only have 3 turns. So, so there's that. All right, so those are kind of the major immediate things. We've gone over the challenge screen. We've gone over the new character screen. Let's talk a little bit about the new tactical mode for the military. All right, because remember, we are going to attack. So boom, we go in this cool red mode. Dun, 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 you hear cool music. All right, so we want to attack Hawkins. So we want to take a look. Okay, so really, and again, I am absolutely not playing the way you would normally play. Typically, you would go, if you really were going to challenge, you'd go and take a look at their defenses. You'd see what you can bite off. In this case, I want to lose. I don't really care. I'm just trying to show the kind of the system. So whatever happens, happens. But this is not a smart way to play. I just want to absolutely emphasize this. So you're on the tactical mode, so you can look at the entire from here. So red circles mean that you can do an action against them. They're within your logistical network. White means they're unowned. And then if they're in blue, which none of these are in blue because my logistical network, it means all you can do is scout. Scouts can actually now move to the radius of your logistical network, even if it's not fully powered, because they have extended range. So we're going to go ahead and click on. So we go here, and we're going to open up the command screen now. You keep in mind, this is a major change from the previous versions. So your War Prime, in the previous version, you would actually move the units yourself. You would do all the micro, very Master Orion-like. You would move people around. Well, that's really not what Emperors do. Emperors would tell their War Prime or their head admiral or whomever, hey, I want to go take that system. Hey, I want to take that planet. Hey, I want to go, cow the people. And it's up to the War Prime to actually come up with the plan. So we have defensive commands, simply move to, defend, scout, and return home, which most of your scouts are already home, so that wouldn't really matter. And then, of course, we have offensive commands. So we can attack the system. We can conquer the system if we have transports. We can bombard the system. Or we don't have any ships that can do this, but we can what's called subjugate. Basically, we can terrorize the system. This is a great way of lowering unrest, but of course it does increase fear quite a bit. But what's this? Will not execute. So here's another exciting change. Your War Prime has a personality, and they can absolutely tell you, I'm not going to do what you want to do. Now, if you'll see, they're from House Hawken. And look, who am I attacking? House Hawken. Well, unless they have very low honor, which if they're very dishonorable, they might say, whatever, I'm going with the winning side. But most characters will not attack their own house. So that's unfortunate. So now we have a couple of options. We can decide, well, we can let it go. We can sack the War Prime and put in a new War Prime, or we can attempt to in any case. or we can challenge another house and kind of let this go for now. And again, this is why you want to do research. I just totally jumped into this to kind of show you, but definitely you'd want to know that your war prime is House Hawken, so it would probably not be a good idea. And they're already not on very good terms with you as it stands. So, but I wanted to kind of show you the fact that now they can absolutely tell you, especially if your relationship's poor, they will refuse to do what you ask. So I cannot initiate any actions as long as he is the war prime. So that is kind of interesting. All right, so we'll go ahead and just back out of that then. All right, so let's take a look at a more conventional approach. Let's take a look in the system. Let's kind of take a look at, all right, what's a good system that I can take? Okay, so here is bar 1. They have 3 forces and they have a system defense value of 240. Now, the way the system works is system defenses are kind of the outer defenses of a system. So whoever controls the system, in this case bar 1, controls those system defenses. So any hostile forces will have to go through that. Think of it as like emplacements of guns that are kind of out in the, all around the Lagrange points and kind of, circling. And as you get closer in, now they don't all attack. It's a percentage, but it's a fairly complicated calculation. But basically, the higher this number, the more incoming damage that your forces will take. So then, if they get through that, and also ships on system defense, they're also part of that. Then they have a couple of things to deal with. They have now what's called the Planetary Cannon Network level. This goes from 0 to 3. Now they have a level of 0, which is great because these are huge, huge cannons that basically shoot up into space and try to knock out transports and ships from orbit. And then of course they have their own forces here. Big part of this game, we've really beefed up the forces. So houses now have a lot more starting forces. So when we take a look, they have a space combat force, and as you can see, they have it pretty well kitted out. Decent effectiveness, and that stems in part from their military tradition and from their admiral, which unfortunately have a very poor 13% military skill, which is, I mean, bad for them, okay for me. So the effectiveness is how well they will fight. So that affects their combat power. It affects their, basically everything they do. It affects their supply usage, their energy usage, how well they fight when they retreat. So you want this effectiveness to be as high as possible. And you do that in 3 ways: by having a high military skill, by putting admirals with high military skill in charge, and by fully funding your forces. So, and you do that, of course, when you set your you set your budget. So they wouldn't be bad. Let's see. So we have, there's Hawken, which we can't attack. So here we have Resurrection. Now they have much less system defense. Let's take a look. Now they have also a cannon level of 0, and they have about the same amount of defenses. Iloa typically does not have a great military. If you look at Iloa, their military skill is not great, so that's not a bad thing. I own this system. I obviously will not attack my own system. So basically we're looking at Xanadu or Iloa. Now, my relationship with Iloa is pretty good. I don't really want to mess that up. My relationship with Van Ryn, bar 1, is indifferent. But you know what? I don't want to piss off Iloa. And let's see, are they friends? No, they're indifferent. Okay, so I think bar 1, if I'm just looking for a fight, they're going to be the ones to do it with. So once again, initiate a house challenge. We'll increase the bid just a very small amount. You see another huge imbalance in power. Confirm the challenge. And of course, they're unhappy. Now you can see it differs too. There's not a set amount. Depends a lot on their house leader's personality. If they're quite belligerent and they're strong-willed, then their reactions will be much higher or lower. All right, so now you can see I've got multiple challenges going, and I can't do any more because I have insufficient AP. But see, now when I get out of there, now you see I have 2 challenges that I'm working. And again, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible way to go about doing things, but I'm just trying to show how things work. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, and now we're going to see, now he will do it, but he can't really recommend it. Overall, I can't recommend this command. The target house is an enemy, but you do have an active challenge, so we do satisfy the honor. Tactically, this will probably be a slaughter. I can't beg you enough to reconsider. Fantastic. we're going to go in anyway. So we see our war score. This is the maximum possible war score that we can earn if we take out all the defenses and all the forces at this location in this system. So the fear effect, this is the percent fear that will go up in the system. And then this is how long it will take, and then this is how much it will take just to get there. Now this is not to actually do the attack, this is simply to transit there. We'll probably add a box to show you the total amount including attacking. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now we choose our intensity. We have one force available, that's an attack force. Now remember, forces, they have different, you don't build forces, you don't actually put together armies, you build hulls, and then those hulls you form into forces depending on what you need them for, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. So we're going to actually cancel out of this because I want to show you how to build. We probably want to take two forces, so we're going to go here, we're going to go assemble new force. Now you see right now we have four forces. We have scout force, space combat force, planetary capture, and then construction. But we probably want to assemble a new force. So we have extra hulls. So these are just generic. So we have destroyer, cutters, and frigates currently. Of course, we can increase, when we increase our technology, we can upgrade our shipyards and build bigger ships. But for now, we do not have the technology to do that. So we want to add a second attack force. Now you see we have these different force templates. We have scout template, attack force, and then from there, and I'm going to add several more templates, but you can see kind of there'll be different sizes, and then from there you can have light, medium. So now if we have the ships, if we want to build, we have a lot of ships in spare, in reserve, so we can actually build a medium attack force. Now it has a combat power of 87, but it uses a tremendous amount of energy. So you know, this would take a lot of my budget to front. So I probably don't want to build a big one. I'm just going to keep it a light force. This has a combat power of 70, good speed, it's pretty good, decent scouting. It's got a one command unit. We'll get more into, there's a pretty good blog that I wrote a while back on the Steam page about the mechanics of combat. But essentially, forces need a command. They generate command points. When they are no longer have any command points or not enough command points, then their effectiveness plummets. And of course, we talked about effectiveness being the key to how well they do things. So we'll go ahead and, oh shoot, I don't have enough AP. It takes 2 AP to actually build a new force. So that's fine. We will just go ahead and, well, we need to set our budget. So we'll go ahead and do that. So not much has changed here. We'll go ahead and auto fund our big new military force. Go ahead and lock it. And I'll fund our intel, put a little bit to science. And then we'll go ahead and set our science. So you can see, because again, we put so much into military and energy, we don't have much from much else. So we'll go ahead, what little we have, we'll go ahead and move towards military, and we will focus on weapon research, space combat. I'm not sure, I went over this in one previous. We've definitely improved the science nexus. All right, so there's that. We'll go ahead and change the active event. Okay, now we can move on to the next turn. So I did not actually give an order. So okay, now we see that we have a strong empire. So now we have Iloa as my ally, and Barwan and Horlock are my enemies. I'm almost out of basic materials, but I have energy, which is nice because again I put a lot of into energy. So, but my basic materials are kind of low, so that may hurt me to build. So, right. So we've got. Okay, that's old, so I'll get rid of that. Now, another big thing that has changed is you now see players that have played a while. We have a lot of different comm requests. So now characters will talk to you a lot more. That's part of the balance. You can be a master of statescraft, but most likely you will not be able to talk to everyone and effectively run your empire. You'll have to kind of pick and choose who's important. But we do help you with that. We show you there's requests, and we show you who's going to talk. We're actually going to have a new screen for this to kind of gives you more information. The Vizier will give their opinion on whether or not to talk to them. But for now, these are basically, now here's a demand. So they're going to make a demand. So I can decide, one of the nice things about this is new, this is my spirit meter. So when I talk to people that I like, my spirit goes up. Spirit is like my mental health. If it drops too low, it starts affecting my APs. Basically when you're depressed, you can't do as much, you kind of mope around. So I talk to people I like, it goes up. When I talk to people I hate, it goes down. There's a lot more that affects it, but that's a big thing. So when I talk to people, I like to talk to people that are happy. Now, this person's indifferent, so they're going to make a request. All right, Emperor, it's time for us to get to know each other better, since it seems you'll be around for a while longer. Shall we spend some time together? So this is a new request. Requests are actually now, houses can now request things like building shipyards, star bases, beyond simply requesting goods. These are actually longer term, and they will tell you how many turns they need them by. And if you fulfill these requests, then you'll get a significant boost in their relationship. Although, of course, other houses that do not like them will not be happy. So basically, this takes an AP point. This is saying it's a courtier. I don't really care much about the courtiers. They don't have much power, so I'm not going to do it. So their trust is going to drop a lot. Their grudge is going to go up. But you know what? He's a courtier. I don't really care. So let's see. Here's another request. System governor. I would like to take you a tour in the Barlon Museum. So they want to get to know me. We're already happy. I don't want to really piss this guy off. He's pretty powerful. So we'll go ahead and do that. You can see I lost an AP. All right, looks like Xerxes has been busy. He's added an ally for Challenger. So let's see what that did. Oh, look. So his power, his relative power has increased a little bit. So its success chance has really not, he must not add anyone particularly powerful. All right, so let's go back. We talked about assembling a new force, which we now can do that. So now we're going to go ahead and assemble that attack force we talked about. So again, all you have to do, select the size, light, medium, heavy, or capital. Select the type, and then you select the template. Now again, each type will have probably 5 or 6 templates. You'll have quite a bit of selection. Some will be bigger, some will be smaller, some will have different effectiveness. So we'll go ahead and assemble the force. All right, so now we go to active forces, and there is Epsilon. You can see, oh, what, 32? What? But it was supposed to have a combat rating of like 70. Well, so remember when we set the budget last turn, we had a budget of X amount. Well, now we've added a big new force. So now you see our budget efficiency has dropped to 78%. So we're going to have to tweak a little bit. So now our forces are demanding 207 billion credits. So there's a few things we could do. If we had a large logistical network, we could turn some of them off, but we only have the one and we really need it to be active. So let's do this. We have budget priorities. We can change the priorities. So we want our forces to be high. So we're going to cut back on our shipyards, and we're going to cut back a little bit on our logistical networks, and it costs 1 AP to do that. So now you can see when I go to my forces, I now have a higher combat power because my efficiency is now 82, effectiveness is 82%, because I'm now funding it more. So just something to keep in mind. It's, you know, you can build a bunch of forces. Oh, and you can only have as many forces effectively as your war prime. Right now I have a force cap of 6, and that's only as high as it is because they have a good war skill. But once you hit that cap, you're not able to build more without certain technologies or by improving your war prime. So, all right, so we are out of APs again. See, it goes fast. So we'll go ahead and do a new event. Next turn. All right, so we are going to attack this turn. So go ahead and start. All right, so we go into our military mode. We go ahead and go into our tactical mode. So we're going to attack bar 1. All right, so we're going to attack Xanadu. Now, remember how before it said, oh, you're going to get slaughtered? So now we built an extra force, and we've staffed that force. So now, well, even if you succeed, your forces may take much more damage than you like. So your war prime takes into account the amount of force you have, and also the intel you have on the incoming system. Now, your system, especially when you are at war, your intel will start to degrade, and you will have to scout the system to get a full reckoning of their forces, or you can just send them in, like I'm about to do. So we're going to go ahead and select. Now we see we have 2 forces available. We could just send one. We could do low, but we don't want to do that. We want to send everybody in. Now you see my resource cost went up to 60 to send them in because now I have 2 forces. Fear increased more because, again, 2 forces are scarier than 1. All right, so we're going to go ahead and accept, close, and now you can see we've got 2 forces making their way to Xanadu. Oh, happy day. All right, so we've got now, this in yellow is a personal comm request. These do actually not cost AP, which is nice. They're basically just pop-up comms, and they typically will happen in the heat of the moment. So we have Iloa. Hail, Emperor Hawkstorm. It's my wish and hope that all is well with you and your house. Keep up the good work. I know that you are doing our best, and I support you. Oh, that's nice. So when I read something like that, my spirit will increase. As you can see, now it's nice and a little bit higher now. So, you know, a lot of this game is really maintaining a relationship between your houses. You can kind of see that Barwan and Horlock are both very unhappy with me because obviously I'm at war with them. But you can see that even with the others, because one of them is an ally of at least one other of those other houses, I basically pissed everybody off to some extent. And this is why you don't want to do challenges left and right, because frankly, you can't afford to have all houses pissed at you. You will go down in flames no matter how powerful you are, because typically you will need resources that you don't have. Like I said, I'm running low on basic materials. You know, people start to starve. You know, if we look at our network, you can see that this Horlock has said, nope, we're not going to be sending to the province network. And Neosiris, well, the province, Barwan, oh no, well, they're not going to be sending because, well, we're at war. So I have just kneecapped myself the entire trade network. So that's no good. So there are a lot of things to consider when they're just like war. All right, so we'll go ahead and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and go there. We'll go to next turn. All right. So now, all right, there's our turn. We'll go ahead and go into here. Now, you see we have 2 forces sent, so we now have a new alert. Capital. By the way, you see now we have critical alerts are at the top and in red, and these are in yellow. These are nice to know, but you don't actually have to respond to them. Red ones, you definitely should. All right, so force awaiting orders. All right, so we're now at Xanadu. So basically we're right outside the system. So what we're doing now is this gives you a chance to kind of verify the defense, make sure this is really what you want to do, verify the ships, and it gives your War Prime one more chance to say, wait, no, you shouldn't do this. Now, because you had perfect intel prior and it takes a while to decay, you already know what's there. So you see you have a 55% success chance. So what that means is you have a 55% chance of not having to retreat, because when you attack, the new combat model goes for 1 turn, which is 3 months. So, and then you have to, you know, at that point you either retreat, or if you beat the forces, then you stay. So we're going to go ahead and attack. Of course, the other option is to retreat, and then you take retreat damage. This is actually a bug. This should be like 5%, but you can retreat as well. So we'll go ahead and attack, and here's our other force. We'll go ahead and attack. And by the way, this does not cost AP to verify a command. It's just your War Prime coming, are you sure you want to do this? And then showing you the cost of that. So so we're going in, and you can see my power reserves are already dropping. So it's expensive to wage war. All right, so we've done that. We're just going to go hit next turn to kind of show what happens when you attack. So we'll get some pop-ups. Okay, welcome, Emperor. All right. So we've got some things going on. So we've got space battle resolved at Xanadu. All right. Oh no, operation failed. Well, we dished out a heck of a lot more than we gave. We took 13 damage, but we gave out 90, which is quite a bit more. So even though we are retreating, we did succeed in a sense in that we, you know, at the end of the day, we're trying to destroy units to improve the war score. Now, because you went against your War Prime's wishes, he's not very happy. So his fear and grudge have changed for the worse, and you now have kind of a worse relationship with him. You now are rivals, which is unfortunate. So sometimes when you don't listen to your primes, you know, with these next builds, we really want your primes to be, you know, feel like you're commanding a council, and not just, again, you're not just the grand ultimate poobah. I mean, you kind of are, but you're going to piss people off in the process, and that will have its own problems. So, okay, well, that's unfortunate. And then here is the second battle. And you can see this is the other force. So now we didn't take as much damage. They took a little bit more damage, which is nice. So now we can kind of see what happened. All right, so house challenge resolved. So what does that mean? It means, you see how it's gone? It means that I think we won the challenge because we took out, yes, House Hawkstorm has defeated House Bar 1 in a challenge. So we took their power. So now you see we're at 1120 and Bar 1 is down to 258. So again, not a lot of power, 30 power, not a huge dent, but it did help. Now, of course, they're very unhappy with me. That's going to take a long. Was it worth 30 power to have 2 houses basically pissed off at me along with their allies? Probably not. But again, I'm just showing you the model. So now you see both units are retreating. So let's see what happened as a result. Now we're kind of working on a better way of showing this. And as you can see, we almost took out all their forces. Like here is Bar 1. They have 1 destroyer left that's got like 40% hit points. I mean, this was their original force. So we basically almost decimated it, which is nice. And then we almost took out their scout force. And then we took some damage too. We took about 2/3 of our combat force out, including our command destroyer, and our frigates are hanging on. And then this is our newest force. This is the newest force, and it got chewed up too. So we actually kept 2 of our destroyers though, which is nice. So they will be going back for repairs. There is now repair when you retreat back to a system with a shipyard. They will start repairing automatically, but it will cost you ship points, ship construction points. So that is pretty much what we've done. So we've taken a challenge. We won the challenge. We engaged in combat. We got our butts kicked, but we still took out enough of their units to win the challenge. And we got a whole bunch of houses pissed off at us. So as I repeat, this is not the smart way to do it, but it's just a way to show you some of the new things that have been added. So, all right, so the last thing we're going to show is the new options screen. We now have, you can go to your settings here, so it's just kind of a new way. You can save a game. Just click on here. Cool, new stuff. All right, so, and hit save. All right, so that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and continue, get back. All right, well, that's pretty much all I got. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have the game, the update will be available shortly, and we hope to continue adding and continuing these videos as we go. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a wonderful day.